serving tray, and I'll show you how to do it. So first I'm going to start with staining the project, the tray, and I'm going to use water-based stain. Things to be mindful for when you start working with the stain and the tray is work section at a time. So let's say if I'll start staining in this area, I'll do light coat of stain. Just spread the stain as far as it goes. Try not to get too much drips around the edges, and especially on this top surface, because what can happen is as this stain starts drying, I'll show you. So if I do the edge here, and then what would happen if I leave like lots of marks here on the side, so when you stay in the middle, you'll just notice there's a double coat of stain, so it's just not gonna maybe look as nice. So once I do a light coat of stain, I'll just grab the shop towel and just wipe it back. And then I'll continue working with a next section. When I'm working here, let's say I like to do one board at a time. Maybe do the edges here as I go as well. Another thing, you want to try to get as much stain as you can also in between the boards, sort of by dabbing it in. Grab my cloth again and just wipe it back, everything that comes out. So the stain does not get darker if you have more on, you're just basically just wiping more off. So just cover it up, and that's good then. Now that it's done staining, I'll just leave it like this and let it dry. Okay, so now that my tray is dry, I will put on the stencil. And what I'm going to do, I'll first flip it over with the back facing up, so it's easier for me to remove the back white paper off. And that way, if something does lift up as I'm peeling off the white paper from the back, I can just push it back down. Okay, and then I'm gonna flip it over and just center my design on the board. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then once I'm happy where it is, I'll just use my hands and just push out all the air bubbles under the stencil. Okay. And so now I'm going to remove the white paper that was keeping the design together. The trick to do this is peel this white paper sideways, flat along the board, and that way it's not going to lift up the black stencil too much. So when something does lift up, I'll just push it back down with the white paper and then keep peeling. I'm actually going to save this piece and actually put it on the edge here so it protects my wood and I don't get any paint on my board. And if you didn't manage to save this, you can also use a green tape afterwards if you have any at home to put it on the edges so you don't get paint where you don't want it to be. Okay, now I'm just going to rub it all over with my hands, all over the stencil, make sure nothing is lifting up. And then once that's done, I'll use transfer decoupage gel, and I will do my first coat with this clear product. Even though it looks white in a container, it's actually clear. And I might do my first coat with this. And what it does, it helps to seal the edges. So when you paint with the color of your choice, the paint doesn't bleed under your stencil. You do want to be careful so you don't put too much of this product on, especially in between where the boards are joining together. So what I'm doing is I'm doing nice light coat and then going both directions, up and down, right and left, and just covering the whole area. Okay, once this is done, I'll just let the sign dry. Now that my transfer and decoupage gel is dry, I will start painting. What I'm gonna do is I'll make sure I use nice light coats, and I will dab my sponge into the paint. I'm actually gonna offload first on a side, so I don't only see the paint color, but I don't actually see a big glob of paint. And I'll then start lightly dabbing the paint on to the design. The things I don't want to do is I don't want to press it super hard, the sponging, so it doesn't end up bleeding in between the boards. So what I'm doing is just doing nice light coats, just lightly pressing it down and just dabbing in one area multiple times and making sure I cover all the little, all the corners and all the edges. And I'll just take my time. I'll probably be doing 2 coats. For a super solid coverage with white colors, you might even need 3 coats, and just let it dry for a few minutes in between the coats. If you're looking for a little bit more of that rustic feel, and then maybe 1 coat is all you'll want. You just sort of look in the middle of your design and see how you like the coverage. Also, you'll have now this super dark line right in between where the boards are joining together. Don't try to squeeze in with that spongy and cover up that dark line. Just let it be. Once you remove the stencil, you'll have this natural break between the design, and it's not gonna feel like there's design missing. I painted 2 coats of paint, and I let it dry to touch, so when I'm putting my hands on, I don't get any new fresh paint on my hands. And now I'm ready to remove the stencil. I'll first remove all the big parts of it, all the big stencil, and then everything that didn't come off right away, then I'll use X-Acto knife and pick out the little things that didn't come out. When you're using this X-Acto knife, you don't want to poke into the wood, you just want to grab it, a little bit of stencil from the side, and just lift up an edge and to remove the rest of the stencil. If you have a little bit of the paint or decoupage gel stuck in between the boards, you can just use like X-Acto knife and cut it open. You can use the tip of it to just scrape off some of the extra paint, and if you need to, you can always grab like a small paintbrush and do little touch-ups either for the stain or the paint. To add some extra protection, because we'll be putting maybe some food on it or cups, we'll use put on a top coat for extra protection. So I'm actually using the same brush I used for staining. I just washed it out, dried out all the water, and now I'm gonna apply the top coat, similar how I applied with the stain, but I'm not gonna wipe it off. Even though it looks white in a container, it is clear matte finish. And I'm just doing a nice light coat, but making sure that I cover all the areas. So depending on where you're standing, you can see if it looks a little shiny while it's wet, that means it's covered. If it's not shiny, then you probably need to add a little bit more. Usually edges get missed. And to make sure that you also do it fully covered, you can also do 1 coat first, let it dry, and do 2nd coat and see what you have missed first time. And again, I'll work section at a time, making sure that if I have any drips on the sides, I'll just pick those ones up so they don't end up drying out on me. Now that my tray is finished, I will just have to do the final step and attach the handles. You'll notice the handles tend to sort of sit a little bit more on one side, so I'll make sure that it's facing out, and then you'll just screw them into a pre-drilled holes. You'll need a screwdriver a drill with a Phillips head, head for the screws, and attach them and repeat the same step on the other side. Okay, your tray is finished.